Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
She said that she would dance with me if I brought her red roses, cried the young student. But there is no red rose in my garden. The nightingale heard him from her nest in the oak tree. She looked through the leaves and wondered. No red rose in my garden, he cried again, and tears filled his beautiful eyes. Oh, how small things can make us happy or sad. I have read all the wise men's books. I know all the secrets of philosophy. But because I don't have a red rose, my life feels terrible. Here's a true lover, said the nightingale. Every night I sang about him, though I did not know him. Every night I told his story to the stars, and now I see him. His hair is as dark as a flower, and his lips are as red as the rose he wants. But love has made his face pale, and sadness has marked his forehead. The prince is having a ball tomorrow night, said the young student. The girl I love will be there. If I bring her a red rose, she will dance with me until morning. If I give her a red rose, I can hold her in my arms, and she will lean her head on my shoulder, and her hand will be in mine. But there is no red rose in my garden. So I will sit alone, and she will walk past me. She will not even notice me, and my heart will break. Here's the true lover, said the nightingale. What I sing, he feels. What is joy to me is pain for him. Love is truly a wonderful thing. It is more precious than emeralds and more valuable than fine stones. You cannot buy it with pearls or pomegranates. You cannot find it in the market. It cannot be bought with gold. The musicians will sit in their place, said the young student, and play their stringed instruments. My love will dance to the sound of the harp and violin. She will dance so lightly that her feet will not touch the floor. The people in their fancy clothes will crowd around her. But she will not dance with me because I have no red rose to give her. He threw himself down on the grass, put his face in his hands, and cried. Why is he crying? Asked a little green lizard, as he ran past with his tail in the air. Why? Said a butterfly, flying around in the sunshine. Why? Whispered a daisy to her neighbor in a soft, quiet voice. He is crying for a red rose, said the nightingale. For a red rose, they said. How silly! The little lizard, who liked to laugh at things, laughed loudly. But the nightingale understood why the student was sad, and she sat quietly in the tree, thinking about the mystery of love. Suddenly, she spread her brown wings and flew into the air. She flew through the trees like a shadow, and like a shadow she flew across the garden. In the middle of the grass was a beautiful rose tree. When she saw it, she flew to it and sat on one of its branches. Give me a red rose, the nightingale cried, and I will sing you my sweetest song. But the tree shook its head. My roses are white, it said. They are as white as the foam of the sea and whiter than the snow on the mountain. But go to my brother who grows around the old sundial. Maybe he can give you what you want. So the nightingale flew to the rose tree that was growing around the old sundial. Give me a red rose, she cried, and I will sing you my sweetest song. But the tree shook its head. My roses are yellow, it said. They are as yellow as the hair of the mermaid who sits on a golden throne, and more yellow than the daffodil that blooms in the field before the farmer comes to cut it. But go to my brother who grows under the student's window. Maybe he can give you what you want. So the nightingale flew to the rose tree that was growing under the student's window. "Give me a red rose," she cried, "and I will sing you my sweetest song." But the tree shook its head. "My roses are red," it said. "They are as red as the feet of the dove, and redder than the big fans of coral that move in the ocean caves. But the winter has made my branches cold, and the frost has hurt my buds. The storm has broken my branches, and I will have no roses this year. All I need is one red rose," cried the nightingale. "Just one red rose." "Isn't there any way to get it?" "There is a way," said the tree, "but it is so terrible that I don't want to tell you." "Tell me," said the nightingale. "I am not afraid." "If you want a red rose," said the tree, "you must make it from your music, under the light of the moon, and you must color it with your own heart's blood. You must sing to me with your chest pressed against a thorn. You must sing all night, and the thorn will pierce your heart, and your blood will flow into my branches and become mine." "Death is a big price to pay for a red rose," cried the nightingale, "and life is very dear to everyone. It is nice to sit in the green woods and watch the sun in his golden carriage and the moon in her silver carriage. The smell of the hawthorn is sweet, and the bluebells in the valley are beautiful, and the heather that grows on the hill is lovely. But love is better than life, and what is the heart of a bird compared to the heart of a man?" So she spread her brown wings and flew into the air. She flew over the garden like a shadow, and like a shadow, she moved through the trees. The young student was still lying on the grass where she had left him, and the tears were still in his beautiful eyes. "Be happy," cried the nightingale, "be happy. You will have your red rose. I will make it from music under the moon, and I will color it with my own heart's blood. All I ask from you is that you be a true lover, because love is wiser than philosophy, even though philosophy is wise. Love is stronger than power, even though power is strong. Love's wings are the color of fire, and his body is the color of fire too. His lips are sweet like honey, and his breath smells like incense." The student looked up from the grass and listened, but he did not understand what the nightingale was saying, because he only knew the things written in books. But the oak tree understood and felt sad, because he really liked the little nightingale who had made her nest in his branches. "Sing me one last song," he whispered. "I will feel very lonely when you are gone." So the nightingale sang to the oak tree, and her voice sounded like water flowing from a silver jar. When she finished her song, the student stood up and took a notebook and pencil out of his pocket. "She has form," he said to himself as he walked away through the trees. "No one can deny that. But does she have feelings? I don't think so. Actually, she is like most artists. She cares more about style than about being real. She wouldn't give up her life for others. She only thinks about music, and everyone knows that artists are selfish. But still, her voice has some beautiful notes. It's sad that they don't really mean anything or help anyone." Then he went into his room, lay down on his small bed, and thought about the girl he loved. After a while, he fell asleep. When the moon was shining in the sky, the nightingale flew to the rose tree. She pressed her chest against the thorn. All night long, she sang with her chest against the thorn, and the cold, clear moon leaned down to listen. All night long, she sang, and the thorn went deeper and deeper into her chest. Her lifeblood started to leave her body. First, she sang about the birth of love in the hearts of a boy and a girl. And on the highest branch of the rose tree, a wonderful rose began to bloom, petal by petal, as song followed song. At first, it was pale, like the mist that hangs over the river, pale like the feet of the morning, and silver like the wings of the dawn. It was like the shadow of a rose in a silver mirror, like the shadow of a rose in a pool of water. But the tree called to the nightingale, "Press closer against the thorn. Little nightingale," it cried, "or the day will come before the rose is finished." So the nightingale pressed closer against the thorn, and her song grew louder and louder, for now she sang about the birth of deep love in the souls of a man and a woman. A soft pink color started to come into the petals of the rose, like the blush on the face of a groom when he kisses the lips of his bride. But the thorn had not yet reached her heart, so the heart of the rose stayed white, because only a nightingale's heart's blood can turn the heart of a rose red. And the tree called to the nightingale again, "Press closer against the thorn, little nightingale, or the day will come before the rose is finished." So the nightingale pressed closer against the thorn, and the thorn pierced her heart. A sharp, terrible pain shot through her. The pain was bitter, very bitter, and her song became wilder and wilder, for now she sang of the love that is made perfect by death, of the love that never dies, even in the grave. And the wonderful rose turned red, like the red sky in the east at sunrise. The petals were red, and the heart of the rose was as red as a ruby. But the nightingale's voice grew weaker, and her small wings started to move slowly. A shadow came over her eyes. Her song became quieter and quieter, and she felt something tight in her throat. Then she sang one last, beautiful note. The white moon heard it and forgot about the dawn, staying longer in the sky. The red rose heard it and shook with happiness, opening its petals to the cool morning air. The sound of the song echoed in the hills and woke up the sleeping shepherds. It floated through the reeds by the river, and they carried the song's message to the sea. "Look, look," cried the tree. "The rose is finished now." But the nightingale did not answer because she was lying dead in the long grass with a thorn in her heart. At noon, the student opened his window and looked outside. "What amazing luck!" he shouted. "Here is a red rose. I have never seen a rose like this before. It is so beautiful that I'm sure it has a long Latin name." He bent down and picked the rose. Then he put on his hat and ran to the professor's house with the rose in his hand. The professor's daughter was sitting in the doorway, winding blue silk around a reel. Her little dog was lying at her feet. "You said you would dance with me if I brought you a red rose," the student said excitedly. "Here is the reddest rose in the world. You will wear it tonight, next to your heart, and when we dance together, it will tell you how much I love you." But the girl frowned. "I'm afraid this rose won't match my dress," she said. "And, besides, the chamberlain's nephew gave me real jewels, and everyone knows jewels cost much more than flowers." "Well, you're very ungrateful," said the student angrily, and he threw the rose into the street, where it fell into the gutter, and a cartwheel ran over it. "Ungrateful," said the girl. "You are very rude. And who are you, anyway?" "Just a student." I bet you don't even have silver buckles on your shoes like the Chamberlain's nephew has. Then she stood up and went inside the house. What a silly thing love is, said the student as he walked away. It's not as useful as logic. Love doesn't prove anything. It tells you things that will never happen and makes you believe things that are not true. It's not practical at all, and in today's world, being practical is everything. I will go back to philosophy and study metaphysics. So he went back to his room, took out a big, dusty book, and began to read.